Hey, welcome, Fight fans, to another episode of Before the Bald Man Speaks. I'm your host, as always, Andrew the Clown Kid Lawrence, and this is the 43rd episode of Before the Bald Man Speaks, coming to you live directly after the greatest sporting event in human history, the pivotal moment of MMA, UFC 200, in a main event between the new champion, Miss Amanda Nunes, taking the championship from Miesha Tate, helping me break down all the action from UFC 200. He's a man. He's a sporting event legend himself. He is just like this event was a once in a generational happening. Mr. Dan Levy at Best Fight Picks, host of Before the Battle, Half the Battle. Sorry, guest on it. You're a once in a lifetime sports event. How you doing, Mr. Levy?
Well, I appreciate the introduction, my friend, and doing awesome, man. I mean, Amanda Nunes, she went out there and saved the night. I'm glad they made that the main event. Going into it, I was like, why are they making that the main event? And then she showed us why, man. From all those decisions to her finishing Miesha in the first round in devastating fashion, that made up for a couple of the earlier fights.
I was going to say, no one's really having as good a night as Amanda Nunes is right now.
Yeah, I'll tell you that much. Everyone there, Robbie Lawler. I hope he's not having too many drinks, man, because he's fighting in 2 weeks, Don't underestimate T. Wood. He's got to go out there and knock this dude out.
Yeah, wasn't that weird? Was he drinking beer?
No, I'm just saying, now that Amanda just won the belt, they're probably going to be celebrating, but you know how they get.
I mean, I don't know. If I was Robbie Lawler, I would feel confident enough to have a few beers, but that's probably why I'm not a world champion, you know what I'm saying?
And when you get that $1 million bonus that Amanda's just – look, she just changed her life. She's about to move her family out of the favelas and, dude, she's changing her whole life. It's all good now. Amanda Nunes is set.
Yeah, that's the amazing part of this sport and kind of these events that you forget. I was telling you before we went on the air, how much money do you think Amanda Nunes has ever made in her MMA career? It probably doesn't cap over $60,000. And she just, she just times that by 15. That's insane. So, especially from someone from Brazil and, I know that she didn't come from the greatest economic background. This really is like a life-changing moment for someone. And that kind of stuff, always kind of puts a smile to my face. And I just love the chaos of the sport. How crazy is this sport? Just this weekend alone, we were expecting nearly every champion to retain their belt, and we had some wild upsets.
Dude, and not only that, everyone, myself included, was counting out Jose Aldo, and he goes out there and has the smartest performance of his career. I know that he did look a tad bit slower than in his earlier days, but, dude, the fight IQ he displayed, he'd take the first 3 minutes of every round off, let Frankie do his thing, and then he'd go out there, land the harder shots, clearly steal the rounds. The judges love to look at what happens at the very end of the round. That's why it's good to bet on those dudes that like to get that little, bullshit takedown at the end of the round and do little damage because, the split decisions go in their favor. And that's what happened here, man.
Yeah, it is important to kind of pour it on there. I would say, though, that I think that Jose just overall was more aggressive in his fight than we've seen in maybe the last 4 or 5 ones. Not back to WEC form. I'm not quite ready to give him that distinction, but
not at all, man.
Definitely an aggressive guy.
Just the way I look at it is he's coming off one of the most devastating knockouts in UFC history. He didn't even take a year off from being concussed like that. He came back in. I thought he was rushing it. And, hey, man, I mean, I guess he put the work in because, like I said, one of the smartest and just one of the best performances of his career.
Dog, he just grew that, pirate mustache and beard combo, and that's all you need to get the chin back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's funny because I was saying that, he looked Brazilian back in the day. Now he looks Mexican, man. He's evolved. And, that was it. He's showing off. Dude, not only that, but he fought like a Mexican fighter because he didn't throw any leg kicks, which he's known for in the past. He also threw hands in this fight. He became a boxer in this fight. I was like, okay. What doesn't outbox Frankie Edgar?
Yeah, I was gonna say that he was looking like a Brazilian Johnny Depp in there. From
I thought Damian Maia is the dude that looks like fucking Johnny Depp. He looks like Johnny Depp's Brazilian cousin.
Oh yeah, he could fill in for Pirates of the Caribbean 5 on some stunt scenes.
Or Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah, yeah. Let's zoom out a little bit and talk about just like UFC 200 as a whole, because this is a weird card, man. At least in my opinion, there's so much hype going into this, and there's so much hyperbole that the UFC loves to spout around their big events. But this event kind of fell flat on its fucking ass. I mean, we don't need to go into the big ordeal that was Conor McGregor and getting, the main event that we were supposed to have in John Jones versus DC. But then we get the drug suspension, and then we get the Anderson Silva replacement, and all of this was very bizarre and very haphazard and very UFC. But then when the night starts in the opening prelim, we had the yellow canvas, which I found to be kind of gross looking and really not professional. Yeah, like it's supposed to be a golden canvas, but it plays off as just like a bright yellow canvas. It was very weird. It was very what's that? What's that regional promotion? King of the Cage, Ring.
Yeah, King of the Cage. It was.
King of the Cage.
It reminded me of King of the Cage too. Honestly, I thought that just because they did it on one event only, that it's acceptable. I mean, if it became the norm, then I'd have I don't know if I'd have a problem, but if, just for a one-time only, I think we can give them a break, man.
For the one time only, it would be cool, but it should have been like a real gold, like a real gold look. That would have been baller, I think. But the problem with the yellow was it just looked terrible, like when you're trying to watch a fight. It made all of the advertisements too look like gaudy and disgusting. So I'm not giving them the pass on that. They should have definitely done a visual test on that, Bad Larry, before wheeling that out on the biggest pay-per-view event of the year. God damn it! And then the microphones weren't working. You remember the first card? Did you watch the Fight Pass prelims? I assume you did.
Yeah, of course. It's funny because there was a press conference at that same arena, the one that Conor and the mics weren't working there either. So then they make their debut at T-Mobile Arena, and the first fight of the night, the mics aren't working. But they got that situated eventually.
Yeah, sometimes this stuff happens, and you can kind of tell, like, fate's gonna fuck with us a little bit here. I remember one card that was just a really bizarre card. Bruce Buffer, announced the wrong person. There was all these kind of technical difficulties. Sometimes when bad luck's in the air, it just kind of is in the air. And I think that it carried on throughout the card in a lot of weird ways and kind of culminated in this main event. Because let's be real, Amanda Nunes as your 135-pound women's champion, not exactly the look the promotion's going for.
I mean, why not, though? I mean, she's violent. She finishes in the first round. I mean, listen, let's put it like this. Between you and I, do you remember what Misha Tate's walkout song was?
Oh, shit. Yeah, I do, actually.
Okay. Is that the walkout song you want for your world champion? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, you do for your 135-pound champion, dog. You're trying to appeal dude, they were selling pay-per-views to like 13-year-old girls when Ronda Rousey was armbarring chicks. That's what the money. That's where the real money's at. We already sold it to people who are buying, John Jones against DC. We're already selling it to the hardcore fans, the dude base. They were making money off housewives and shit. They wanted to keep that alive. And I'm sorry, but Amanda Nunes is hardly speaking English. Ass ain't cutting the mustard there.
But you know what? She had that performance on that stage where everybody watched. So just like Holly Holm was the chick that beat Ronda Rousey, now Amanda Nunes is the chick that beat Misha Tate. So this in itself was, I mean, dude, just like the fact that she got that $1 million bonus just for winning the belt, once you get that belt, everything changes in your life. You just become, a different person. Not saying that she's becoming a different person in terms of how she treats people. I just mean that your life changes. Everything changes. The way people treat you, your opportunities, the doors that open for you, your financial situation. It's a completely different ballgame. She reached the pinnacle of the sport. It is what it is, man.
Yeah, for sure. We touched on it a bit, but it can't be overstated that Amanda Nunes changed her life in a major way, and not just off the $1 million bonus there. She can, probably make residual opportunities for herself now in a way that she couldn't without that tag. Especially in Brazil, it's a great, it's a great opportunity maker. It's a great way to open a door to have that UFC champion label attached to you, even if she does go out and get starched by, Holly Holm or whomever she fights in her next bout. What do you think about poor Misha Tate here? Cupcake. This is supposed to be, kind of her placeholder fight, a quick payday until she, either until Ronda decided to come back or until Holly wanted that rematch or the UFC wanted to give her that rematch.
Look,
Dangerous fight, and she misstepped big here. I kind of thought when she walked out to the cage that she looked like she was psyching herself a little out of this whole thing. But maybe she just had good reason and realized how dangerous Amanda Nunes was while everyone else was kind of writing her off.
well, I mean, the bottom line is when you're going into a fight with Amanda Nunes, no matter what, win or lose, you're going to have to go through some shit. So it's not like one of those fights where you just take the person down, pass, hold them down, and, get an easy decision. When you fight Amanda Nunes, you're going to get hit, and it's about can you come back or not? And Misha couldn't recover. Amanda Nunes and new.
Yeah.
And she closed as a plus 265 underdog.
Huge underdog. Congratulations to those who hit it, because everyone was kind of running from that money. Yeah, a little humble brag over there from Mr. Daniel. Real quick, do you think that that was a late stoppage? Meaning, I know it was a submission victory, but could you have stopped that fight just from the blows that she was taking? She was kind of on rubber legs for a little bit. She kind of looked like she was giving the chill dog. She didn't look like she knew where she was at. Even after she tapped, she kind of was wrestling as if she was still in the fight. Maybe she wasn't all the way there. What do you say?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't have an objection if they did. But the thing is, you remember the last time when Misha Tate fought Kat Zingano and she complained that the stoppage was too early. So, okay, if the stoppage was too early for you, then we're going to let it go to the bitter end. So they let it go to the end. And, she ended up tapping out. So this time she can't say, oh, it was an early stoppage, because once you tap out, that's all she wrote.
Yep, I kind of agree there. As much as I err on the side of fighter safety. Fighters want to complain and say, "Give me an opportunity to, recover. Give me a chance as long as I'm moving and fighting. Let me stay in the fight." Well, you kind of, you made your own bed there. Anything else you want to add before we move on to the co-main?
Yeah, you're talking about fighters like that make their own bed there. How about ones that make their bed here where they, they say shit like, Ross Pearson was saying about Will Brooks, all these guys are going to run for me. They're just going to try and lay on me. And it's like, well, dude, you're supposed to defend that if you're in the UFC. Like, you better know that if you're a brawler and you like to throw punches, then, most people aren't going to try to exchange, go there with you in the best part of your game. And you know what? Will Brooks actually stood up and traded with him. He gave him the fight he wanted, and he still beat him until he gassed out. But you know what? He survived, and he won the decision.
Yeah, weird non sequitur to bring up that fight, but it was I found that fight interesting, and I don't think I really got to talk about it in too much depth in the last shows. But yeah, I was super impressed with Will Brooks, despite kind of the attitude people had that he should have been more aggressive and starched him. I thought that he won all the phases, and I thought it was a good exercise for him to kind of go through 3 rounds in the UFC. Maybe he was experiencing a little bit of the big show jitters as well. So kind of good to exercise those, against a guy like Ross Pearson before he makes a step up into like the top 10, top 15 guys. Let's talk about Brock Hunt, because this is a sad fight, and although not all that surprising, if we're going to be really honest, if someone told me that Brock Lesnar was going to go in here, get a takedown, and smother out Mark Hunt and kind of just ride top position. Land some heavy elbows and some good ground and pound, no question. But mostly, controlling Mark Hunt in top position after getting takedowns, I would for sure have believed you. But something inside of me really wanted Mark Hunt to win. The fanboy took over, and I couldn't really be objective and analytical in this fight. And I just really thought that Mark Hunt had enough. I thought that there was a shift in the second round, and that going into the third, it looked like Mark Hunt could streak away with this. He was popping the jab and keeping the distance well, but Brock Lesnar wasn't going to be denied. And God damn it, if you can't kind of commend a guy for taking 3 years out of the game and just hopping in there and beating a super dangerous guy like Mark Hunt.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I got this one completely wrong. I thought that Mark Hunt was going to go out there and starch him. And, I did have that little, a little fan attachment, like you were saying, that, this guy that's been gone forever, that quit our sport and went to go do fake wrestling, now he wants to come back and beat a guy that's been going, He's been going in there with the champions. Mark Hunt went in there with Stipe and Werdum and Frank Mir. He's been active while this other dude's been doing pro wrestling, and I couldn't have been more wrong. And I thought Mark Hunt, man, it was just sad that he wasn't able to get off on his strikes. And that second round where they stood pretty much the entire round, it's like, Mark, let your hands go. He doesn't like getting hit, man. And I'll tell you what, I was surprised that Lesnar was able to take him down so easily, not just because Hunt's takedown defense has improved, but because when you quit the sport and you retire, you don't come back the same. It doesn't matter that he's a NCAA Division I All-American champion. That doesn't matter because he got 40% of his colon removed or some crazy shit.
Yeah.
He turns purple when he exerts energy. That shit's not healthy. So it doesn't matter how great of an athlete you are. I thought the shots were going to be able to be stopped, and damn, dude, Lesnar, he rose to the occasion, and much respect, props to him. And, like I said, man, I was wrong on that one 100%.
Yeah, definitely. That being said, that was the dog shit awful fight, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was sad. And,
let's be real, dog. That fight sucked, man.
Bro, to see that back-to-back with DC versus Silva, I mean, when you wanted – it's like, DC, look, your belt's not on the line. It's 3 rounds. This guy took it on 2 days short.
Slug it out with the 185-pounder. You're a heavyweight, dog. Come on, man. We'll get to that fight. I got some fucking choice words for DC, the champion, our 205-pound champion, who fought like a bitch against the 185-pounder, dog. Let's be real about that shit. He fought like kind of a pussy.
Dude, it's like it's UFC 200 once again. Yeah. Your belt's not on the fucking line. The guy's 40 years old. Like, come on. Like, just go out there and put it on for the fans. And I'll tell you what, if John Jones was fighting him tonight, he would, bent him over and spanked his little ass, he got lucky on this one. A couple of days ago when Jones, I guess the news came out that he, doping violation USADA. Man, I got to tell you what, USADA's been killing the sport lately. Yeah.
But don't get me started on that, man. I hate drug testing. I'm anti-drug testing now, officially.
God,
bring steroids back.
Like, how does the news come out 72 hours before the event? Like, when the test was done back in June.
Can't we rush these tests, dog? We got money in this sport now, don't we? We got Bud Light on fucking the website. Can't we throw some of that Bud Light money to rush these tests along a little bit?
Did you see that one thing where, someone mentioned that and then Lance Armstrong commented, someone was like, they were like,
Fall back, Lance, save yourself, dog.
This guy was like, Jeff Novinsky's trying to make this all about himself. And then out of nowhere, Lance Armstrong replies. He doesn't even follow this dude. He just, searches the name Jeff Novinsky, I'm assuming. And he's like, I 100%
alert set up,
like, dude, yeah, it was something, man. So
that is hilarious.
What do you think about that? 72 hours before the event, when the test was conducted back in fucking June.
That's my thing. No, I understand the need for due diligence in a tricky situation like this, and needing to be 100% correct. But God damn it, man! There's got to just be a better protocol, or just more dollars that can be invested. These testing systems, they're pretty rapid. You'd have to figure, right? I just don't understand it. Maybe someone who actually understands drug testing, more refined. I'll read something that they have to say and learn why it takes so goddamn long. But it just doesn't seem like it really needs to. When they could test the B samples overnight, that was the confusing part with me. They're getting overnight testing done on the B sample. I'm like, what? We couldn't get the 5-day option on the A sample? Jesus Christ, guys. We went with the 1-month option so we could fuck it up right at the end? We could have got OSP versus goddamn Daniel Cormier, and that would have been so much
Dude, listen, man. You know what's the silver lining here is we got Malky Kawa representing this guy, and he's the same guy that got Yoel Romero the whole tainted supplement shit. And now, his win over Jacare is not a no contest. It remains a win. So hopefully he's going the tainted supplement route, and we send this guy to the GNC, get that supplement he took, test it, find out it has whatever Jones tested positive for, and exonerate him. Give him 3 to 6 months. Tim Means, he was about to face 2 years off, and now he's got a fight scheduled on the next pay-per-view or two.
Yeah,
like
that's
on
beautiful.
202, he's on the main card already.
Which I agree
Like,
with. If you get hit with the tainted supplement thing, it's a tainted supplement. Who gives a shit? These people are acting like they're getting caught on like the HGH or something. Like they're on the EPO. They ain't on the EPO, man. They're on the GNC. Fucking Lyoto Machida's out for a year taking fucking like wildflowers. He's taking goddamn dandelion leaves and shit, guys. He's not taking fucking EPO. Take it easy on the guy. But anyway, yeah, I hope John Jones. He's got the right team. I hope even if it's not true and he's just been taking like the straight Chael Sonnen roids, that they just fake it and lie because I want to just see John Jones fight again. I don't want to wait 2 years. And you could call me selfish and you could call me, saying I support a dirty sport or whatever. But fuck you, man. How about that? That's my, That's my response, Daniel. Fuck you guys. I don't care about a dirty sport. I care about watching dope fighters fucking fight. And the dopest fighter in the world is John Jones. Let me see the dude in the cage. I didn't sign up for this. Look, you can be upset with me all you want, but I didn't sign up for USADA. I don't think anyone else signed up for USADA. This shit sucks. This shit is terrible, bro. I wasn't sitting here being like, we need a clean sport. It's been a dirty sport, dog. Look at Kevin Randleman. You don't get Kevin Randleman without Mexican help. So come on, guys. Let's dump USADA. That's what should be the rallying cry coming out of this goddamn pay-per-view. But we didn't really talk about Hunt versus Brock Lesnar.
And rightfully so. It was so sad, man. I mean, just to see. I mean, look, Brock did his thing. You got to give him props. Hunt didn't do his thing, and we just wish that Hunt did his thing because it would have been a devastating knockout, which is what the fans like to see.
Of course. And you kind of leave that fight feeling robbed, and that's exactly what you don't want to feel after your freak show fight. Brock Lesnar, while this was an impressive performance, I just don't see him doing that to anyone else in the top 5. So I think the best move for him is to sail off into the sunset, cash your $2 million check at the end of this bad Larry, and move on to SummerSlam or whatever the fuck you got going on.
Yeah. There you go, man. This was a one-off, right?
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully we don't get any smart ideas over there.
Hey, and last thing, because I'm assuming you don't want to talk about this guy Brock, but what's up with Canadian Brock? Like,
Canadian Brock, that's weak, isn't it?
Like, what the fuck's the deal, bro?
Well, here's the deal. It's one of two things. If he actually lives in Canada full time, I can respect it a little bit. But I thought that was just like some vacation house he had up in the Winnipeg.
Like, I thought it was 3 months ago he was in Minnesota or some shit. You know what I mean? Like, and he's holding the Canadian flag and stuff. All right, freedom of speech, right?
Yeah, you want to play the Canadian game, be a Canadian, go for it. I guess I gotta respect it. I'm forced to respect it. But everyone knows that it's quite possible that Canada's not a real place. A, and B, that the greatest nation in this goddamn world is the U.S. of A. Moving on. We talked about it a bunch, but let's talk about DC against Anderson Silva. In the respect that I feel like I walked away from this fight saying it was a huge win for Andy. I thought that the Spider came out of this shining. He lands this brilliant post-fight speech. That is in half Portuguese, and then he hits the English version and wins everyone's goddamn hearts right over again. The guy's a goddamn gem. He went out there and fought a dude he has no business fighting. Really, in my mind, Daniel Cormier is forever a heavyweight, has no business fighting big-ass Daniel Cormier, but goes out there and avails himself to be really good, wins all those stand-up exchanges, looks really, really crisp, hurts DC in the third round. And all the time he stays on bottom, he doesn't take big shots. So, as much as you can give the win to DC easily, I think that who won the people's vote, who won the people over in that fight, easily the Spider.
Dude, no doubt about it. I mean, like you said, he won all the stand-up exchanges, which is the only exciting moments of the fight. I mean, when DC got on top of him, it was just not fair because, like you said, the dude's a fucking heavyweight and a heavyweight Olympic wrestler, on top of Anderson Silva. I mean, come on, man. Stand and trade with the guy, right?
Here's the thing. We shouldn't have allowed wrestlers to fight Anderson Silva ever. He should still be the champion because we should have protected him forever. And you know what? Ever since Chris Weidman broke poor boy's jaw and then his leg, Andy's value's been tarnished, but if we had just kept him fighting stand-up dudes, he would still be the elite, dominant champion we'd always known and loved, and we could have lived in that illusion forever. And I'm comfortable with living in that lie.
But dude, I gotta say this, he gained his respect back because he took the fight on 2 days short notice against the light heavyweight champion, the Olympic wrestler, and he went in there and he didn't get finished. Everyone thought he was going to get knocked out first 2 rounds. He survived and did really good, so I got to give it to him, man.
How about this? Homeboy in the post-fight speech goes on the longest Brazilian or Portuguese tirade that anyone's ever gone on. And the goddamn translator has to remember 45 paragraphs of translation. But it all in all, he seemed like he did a good job. Anderson Silva, during that post-fight speech, mentions that he's trained 2 weeks since he finished his gallbladder surgery too. How insane is all of this,
100%, man. I mean, what else can I say, right?
The best part about the UFC 200 is that it was supposed to be the greatest card of all time, but it just ended up being the most MMA thing that we could have done. We have Anderson Silva fighting Daniel Cormier. Miesha Tate against Amanda Nunes is the main event, of course. And for some reason, Brock Lesnar's fighting. So this couldn't have been more of a debacle. We talked about it a little bit, but let's bring it back and talk about it with a little bit more depth because it's probably the most competitive fight of the night and probably the most relevant fight, honestly. Frankie Edgar losing to Jose Aldo and kind of the return of Pirate Aldo. Brazil's resurgence, how much of a chance do you give Jose in a rematch against Conor?
Before I tell you that, I was really looking forward to Frankie versus Conor. I thought that was the fight to make, but looking at how this fight went, and not because MMA math is any indication, but just seeing, Frankie's inability to deal with the speed, I truly believe Frankie would have gotten knocked out also. But Aldo's going to get knocked out as well. It is what it is. I know he looked amazing against the guy he already beat, but he's not going to look amazing against Conor. And speaking of which, Conor versus Diaz, I know that's a while away, but dude, holy shit, that's a tough fight to call, man. 170 pounds. When I was backing Conor to be one of the GOATs, that was at 145 pounds. 170 was never part of the equation. And when you think about it, people are like, oh, but Diaz is a lightweight. Yeah, but think about it for a second. He doesn't have to cut those, 15 pounds. So that's 15 pounds of extra water in his brain, and he's just a big-ass dude. The size difference is serious, and that counts for a lot when it's 2 experienced guys like that.
Yeah, definitely. I think that it's the difference between a 155er and a 145er playing up in weight class too. And I think a lot of last fight had to do with this. Without having that weight cut, I think that the discipline of the camp kind of fell off for Conor's side. Whereas Nick had, the opposite experience. He had to add discipline into his life rapidly and very quickly. He was on a tight schedule. He had to pull his shit together essentially after being on vacation. So I think that had a lot to do with that. Without being in your routine as a fighter, that can affect, your ability to perform. And I think that it hurt Conor a lot. I think that Jose Aldo though does pretty good against Conor. I think that we're not going to see another flash KO like that. I think that the power and speed advantage do go to Conor though, and ultimately Jose Aldo's not going to look to mix it up enough to to become some massive takedown artist that's going to wrestle the shit out of Conor McGregor. So we could get a similar outcome again. But I think that Jose Aldo's much more competitive, and we might see a fight actually go to a decision between those two guys. Anything else you want to say? A really sad night for Frankie Edgar in that camp. Another title opportunity. It just seems like the one dude he probably can't beat in the 145-pound division is Jose Aldo.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And it is kind of sad just for Frankie Edgar because he did make that climb. He beat credible dudes in that division. He's the guy that ended Cub Swanson's win streak back when he was about to get a title shot. And he knocked out Chad Mendes. So you would have thought he was the guy to face McGregor, but all props to Aldo. That performance he put on, like I said, very smart performance. And you know, nothing but respect for Jose Aldo to come back from the devastating setback he faced not too long ago, about 6 months ago, right? To come back from that and to have a performance like he did tonight against a guy that had the momentum he had going into this contest. I mean, Frankie Edgar's going in there training with Mark Henry in Mark Henry's mansion. They got all these codes on the fucking wall. Screaming out shit like Jersey, Jersey, like, you know what I mean? And they just
sugar cookie, sugar cookie.
You see when Eddie Alvarez knocked out RDA, and RDA's got his guard fully up, and Eddie Alvarez slips that punch through the fucking forearm and the bicep, the littlest opening. He rocks RDA with his titanium jaw and fucking, you know, makes him do the chicken dance, and he did his thing. And I thought that, you know, Mark Henry's work with Frankie Edgar was going to pay dividends here, but fuck, man, Jose Aldo was just the better man.
Yep, and I think that the big problem for Frankie Edgar at the 145 class is speed. The advantage he had at being 55 and the smaller guy, at least during that era where he was dominant, was that he could he could just be faster with his punches than these guys, and he would just volume strike his way to victories. Whereas here, his power means a little bit more, not honestly all that much more, but he loses that speed advantage, and that just hurts him too much. Opening up this pay-per-view, Cain Velasquez against Travis Brown. Oh, real quick before we move on, I see you out there, Kyle Marley, winning 3 Gs on your DraftKings, shouting out to some live viewers who are using that hashtag BTBMS. Hit us up with questions there if you want to ask us anything. Cain Velasquez against Travis Brown. God damn it, the man Cain just put it on someone. Huge talent discrepancy in this fight, in my opinion. Travis Brown floats around as a top 5 guy probably for the rest of his career, or, like a gateway to get into the top 5, in my opinion. And it just seemed like, Cain's not injured enough to start losing to someone of Travis's, talents.
Dude, I gotta say, I completely counted out Cain going into this. I was like, dude,
really?
he hasn't had a victory since 2013. He's coming off the knee and back surgeries. But, dude, this was one of the best performances of his career. Like, when have you ever expected Cain to throw spinning wheel kicks? Like a heavyweight throwing spinning wheel kicks?
They didn't look bad either, right? I thought that those, the Taekwondo looked okay.
Dude, if Travis Brown wasn't 6'8" or whatever the fuck, he would have got knocked out. You know what I mean? So that shows me that Cain's adding to his arsenal, which I didn't think was possible, because I thought, after you're a 2-time world champion, I mean, how much more motivation is there? You're a multi-time millionaire, multi-time champion. Like, what else is there to accomplish? And, even though Travis Brown has never been the greatest guy in the heavyweight division, he's still, like you said, a top 5 gatekeeper. So, and, considering what Cain went through with the surgeries and the layoff, and his last performance where he got completely whooped, he came back and he showed the Cain of old, if not the Cain of now. I mean, he's better. I mean, like those spinning wheel kicks, like where the fuck did those things come from, man?
Yeah, definitely. I thought after that fight that, the mystique of Cain Velasquez is gone, but the talent of Cain Velasquez is still very much present. And, you could talk about those flashy kicks, but I think they're a perfect skill set to kind of add into his game. A lot of people now want to look to circle out against Cain. Of course, you can't keep your back against the fence. So, like, how do you corral someone in? I think adding, some of those wider kicks, those Taekwondo kicks, you could circle a guy into your range to get him in front of you, so you can line up, takedowns. You can line up, your straight punches by keeping someone in your crosshairs and they're back against the fence. Plays perfectly into, kind of the style that he wants to do. He seemed to throw him without, looking too awkward, and all the motion looks smooth. And Cain's always been a big guy with really great balance. And to have a really good kick game and kind of to be an elite guy at heavyweight, honestly, it seems to be, a lot of these guys, while being athletic freaks and huge guys, they're not the most athletically coordinated. But, the things like balance and timing and smooth movement, Cain Velasquez always had that in spades. And it seems like he's carrying that on with the Taekwondo stuff.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Now I'm curious to see what he does next, because a lot of people say that, Stipe took the style that Cain took, and maybe he took it to that next level now that he's the champion. So let's say that Stipe gets passed over him, do you think that this performance by Kane was, title shot worthy, or do you think he has to take one or two more?
Got to
Because,
take
dude,
that.
one more, so who do you think you should fight, man?
Anyone that really works out in the top five. It doesn't even have to be someone coming off a win. I don't know who's in there who doesn't have a matchup right now. I mean, honestly, he could beat up a Ben Rothwell. It's just more about him going out there, making the weight, not being injured. Yeah, making the weight's not a problem. Just not being injured and having a good dominant performance, and then they can just insert him. Because basically, after one more win, he can't be denied. There's probably no other suitors left. Where right now it's kind of fairly obvious that we're doing the Overeem thing. Just seems like too long of a time to wait too. Stipe's not going to want to return right after that. So you just need one more.
Yeah, I mean, Stipe is fighting Overeem in Cleveland in like a month or two. I mean, dude, that's going to be a hell of a fight.
That's a great fight, and it's an awesome fight for the city of Cleveland. I think it's a great excuse to kind of hit that market for the UFC as well. I'm looking forward to that. I hope that they support it well, though. I think that Stipe needs some padding to make it a real pay-per-view event, to make it a really newsworthy event. He needs a little bit of help from that undercard. Let's talk about the Fox Sports 1 prelims here. A little bit of underdog action with the Venezuela Vixen beating up the returning Kat Zingano. It looked like it was all Kat after the first round, but Pena turned it around in the second. Kind of gutted it out and took some positions from her. A lot of reversals in the ground game. It seemed to me like Kat faded in the later rounds. Did you agree?
100%. The thing that's so cool about these chicks in particular is that they're so damn gritty. And Pena was just the grittier fighter tonight. And also, you mentioned she faded. I do think it could be due to the fact that, she's been out over a year. She, word on the street that she was weighing 175 pounds not too long ago. But, she looked great. She looked great on the scale. So I was like, hey, she made it work out. But at the end of the day, dude, all these people that come from that camp in Washington, with Michael Chiesa, Juliana Pena.
Don't grapple with them. Do not grapple with these Pacific Northwest freaks, man.
Oh, my God. They got this just freakish strength about them. I mean, look, like, did you see when Chiesa tapped out Benny?
Yeah.
One doesn't simply tap out Beneil Dariush. This is a guy that beat Kron Gracie in straight jiu-jitsu. You don't just tap that guy out. And, he fucking weathered that storm and tapped that guy out. And Juliana, she put it on Kat Zingano. Kat Zingano is a chick that finished Miesha Tate and Amanda Nunes. I mean, she's no fucking slouch. So to go out there and do that is a big statement. And maybe we see Amanda Nunes versus Juliana Pena next.
Yeah, I would have really liked to see Kat kind of take a fight like this when she was more in the swing of things and kind of had a little bit more of a tune-up. But it's hard for a girl in her position. She was like the number one ranked fighter when she got injured, and took off that time from getting beat by Ronda Rousey, and kind of lost her way. So she still has a little bit of name value and some cachet. So they needed to put her in against someone who had a name herself. But this was a dangerous fight for her and a bitter. Too, she kind of gave away the fight in the fact that she was in a dominant position in the second and kind of goes for a submission, gives up position, and Pena jumped on that as an opportunity that she needed to kind of take a victory here. Hats off to Juliana Pena. I think it's great right now in the 35-pound division that really anyone's can kind of climb their way in the ranks and take this belt right now. I mean, goddamn it, Amanda Nunes is the fucking champion. Juliana Pena can be next. Why the fuck not?
Yeah, I mean, no doubt about it. It's funny because aside from Ronda Rousey, none of the female fighters in that division have defended the belt. I believe more than once at all.
No, yeah, so, you're absolutely right.
Straight up. So, depending on who Amanda faces next, that could be maybe her last title defense. But at the same time, this is the kind of chick that knocks out dudes in the gym. So if Amanda Nunes keeps on getting better, she could be the one to hold that title for a while.
Doug, I would not spar Amanda Nunes. Like, you'd have to – no, I would. You'd have to pay me a lot of money, though.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'd have to sign a waiver that you don't die. Like, you know what I mean? Like
minimum 5 figures. You'd have to give me 10 G's to spar Amanda Nunes. You know what I mean? Because she's going to fuck your face up. You're going to have serious damage on your face. You're going to the hospital.
Yeah, what kind of time limit? Would you do it a 5-minute round, a
No,
3-minute
dude,
round?
can I get 2-minute rounds? I'm negotiating hard. You know what I mean? I'm really all early rounds, just like light sweat too. She can only go 60%.
Should I make her only do grappling and just get choked out over and over again for
Yeah,
5 minutes?
I'd still end up with like 3 broken wrists or 2. I don't even know how that's possible, but I would. All right.
Uh,
Let's talk about Johnny Hendricks and his massive fall from grace, shall we? Guy comes out here, loses the gimmick, gets rid of the beard. First huge mistake. Second huge mistake. Misses weight. Third huge mistake. Fights like some dude who I don't fucking know exists. Not throwing with power, kind of lunging with his punches, and kind of looking really awkward out there. Cats off to Calvin Gastelum because I guess he's a crafty guy. He looked really good, and it seemed like Johnny rolled with a couple of the punches, but he just seemed like he had the quicker fists and was throwing the straighter stuff, and it worked out for Calvin. I gave Johnny the second, but it was even that one was kind of close. What do you think's going wrong over there in the Hendricks camp?
well, I mean, what's going wrong in the Hendricks camp is that he doesn't have the people that brought him to the championship with him anymore because there was some kind of contractual issue where he has to pay them a certain percentage, and once he got to the belt, he's making a lot more money, but he has to pay them the same percentage. So he was just like, fuck this, man. And he's not in there with Mark Lehman, who's his head coach. And once you start doing that home gym thing, you know how it goes from there. But dude, I gotta say, it's a funny issue here because this fight, I had some money on Kelvin Gastelum, and my power went out during this fight. So I didn't get to see this fight at all. All I was able to do was go on Twitter. So some people were saying, 30-27 Gastelum. Then other people were saying 2-1 Johnny. So I was like, what the fuck is going on?
No 2-1 Johnny.
The power
Stop it.
came back right before the decision, and Kelvin got his arm raised, which was pretty fucking badass. But dude, speaking of, he didn't have the gimmick, he didn't have the beard, he also doesn't have his one-star steakhouse.
Things are not looking good for poor Johnny Hendricks. You lose the belt. You lost the steakhouse. Everything's just falling apart.
Yeah.
Did you watch that Embedded when they went to his steakhouse? It looked like maybe the world's most depressing steakhouse.
Dude, did you see the reviews on Yelp? I know you did. I don't even have to ask. I know you did.
I fucking had to check that article out. You tell me that Johnny Hendricks Steakhouse is getting 1-star reviews on Yelps, I'm clicking your article. You got me. You got me, you MMA clickbait motherfuckers. You weirdo journalists. You caught me. That's right up my alley. I want to read some people shitting on Johnny Hendricks. Some people haven't even gone to the goddamn steakhouse. That's disappointing, but
Yo, so Andrew, I gotta ask you, man. Since this is the only fight on the card I haven't seen, and I really wanted Kelvin to come through. How did the fight go down? I mean, did he whoop his ass? Did he just fucking point fight him? Like, what exactly happened when they fought for 3 rounds?
This is what I'm saying. I think that Calvin took the first, and I thought it was pretty decided. Johnny's not really even shooting for stuff, not like with concrete takedowns. So he's looking to do the stand and bang Johnny move, but he's looking for these hooks, kind of loopers, trying to go around his guard. You know how he does. He throws those wide hooks. But, I think about Johnny Hendricks when he fought GSP and how crisp his hands looked and, how much just more pop they had and how much more accuracy. And his punches didn't look like that. His punches looked like, he hadn't been working with, or I don't know. It just looked like they just didn't have the same power. They didn't have the same accuracy. He didn't have as much faith in it. And Gastelum's throwing these straight punches that are tagging up Johnny's face, and they're happening a lot. And when Johnny's getting hit, the reaction's really bad. So it looks like he's trying to kind of roll. He's trying to do that move and roll. But what it ends up looking like to anyone's eyes is like you're getting blasted really hard, putting your hands down and just kind of eating them. And I'll give him some credit for rolling a couple of those shots, but a couple of those shots he was taking straight to the face. So just on volume alone, I don't see how you don't give Gastelum the first. Now I scored Johnny the second because I think he started having some success, especially pressing him against the cage, making it a little bit more grittier. It seemed like originally I thought that Hendricks was going to have the advantage in the boxing range, but that wasn't working out for him at all. So he had to press up into the clinch because it seemed like he still kind of had the ability to muscle around Gastelum, even though Gastelum looked a lot bigger than I thought. And so I thought that the clinch game wouldn't go for Johnny, but it did seem to work for Johnny, despite, he's looking a little chubby around the waist nowadays. But even that round, was really close. And then I thought the third round, was all Gastelum, because Gastelum just realized, I'm not letting him press me against the fence. Every time it happens, I'm going to get separation and just keep throwing straight punches. And, that's what he did. I can understand people who even scored all 3 rounds to Calvin. Let's see what the official scorecards were. Two 30-27s and one 29-28. So, right along with my thinking, everyone's. This was really Calvin Gastelum kind of shining on Johnny Hendricks. Johnny Hendricks in the back said that he's like, I'm not sure I'm going to be fighting in Las Vegas anymore. I don't know really what's going on with this city. They're not scoring these fights the way. And I'm like, guy, Las Vegas ain't got shit to do with this, bro. You got some fucking big issues you got to address.
Bro, first it's I only won 70% when I fought GSP.
Oh my god, this dude says the dumbest shit that anyone could say after fights. That's proof positive he's taken too many head contusions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt about it. When you get a chance on Fight Pass, watch round 3 of Robbie Lawler versus Johnny Hendricks the first time they fought. And, he's just a human punching bag that third round. That might have been the first sign that, this decline spot was coming, man. Just check it out. It's a very fun fight to watch. He's out on his feet and shit. But he's a tough guy. You got to give Johnny Hendricks credit. But, dude, I got to watch this fight between Gastelum and Hendricks, man. Only fight I missed.
You should check it out.
I like this kid Gastelum a lot, man, because, 24 years old. He's really changing his life. He moved out to California, training with Kings MMA, with Master Hoffa. And it's funny because you always like to talk about how there's these guys that, they're the punching bags to the stars. The Jean Vellante to the Chris Weidman. Yeah. And with, the Jake Ellenberger to the fucking Rafael Dos Anjos and Benil Dariush. And with Kelvin Gastelum, he's the kind of guy that thrives at a place like Kings MMA. And as you saw tonight, I'm assuming that's what you saw tonight when you went out there against the former UFC welterweight champion and beat him 30-27 on 2 of the judges' scorecards.
Well, beat him boxing, too. That's the one thing that Calvin needed was kind of to add that striking element to his game and his straight boxing looking crisp as a motherfucker. Calvin Gastelum here, this is kind of, his coming out party. That loss against Tyron Woodley kind of gets forgotten about a little bit and put to the side. That was a really close fight, too. He could have easily won that split decision and been in a completely different spot in his career. So, interesting times for Mr. Gastelum, and still a really young dude, definitely a future title contender. Before this, we had TJ Dillashaw, who were kind of really shining against Rafael Sunsao. A lot of people wanted to give Sunsao some credit, especially with that 300 number next to his name. It looked so goddamn tempting. Some of y'all couldn't help but take a swing, myself included. But it was all for naught because TJ Dillashaw looked like the goddamn man. Not taking these rounds so definitively, but definitely to the trained eye, clearly winning and clearly establishing dominance. TJ Dillashaw, do you slide him right into that title shot against Dominic Cruz? What do you do with him?
Well, here's the thing, man. First of all, I was one of those guys that took Rafael Sunsao. I thought that the way the styles matched up, that TJ is a very aggressive forward fighter, and Rafael Sunsao likes to lay back and throw those counters. So I thought he was going to be able to land the harder shots. But, because in TJ's last few fights, like in his fight with Soto and Cruz, he's just been headhunting. He abandoned, all that crazy footwork that he did in the Barao fight. But this time he went back to that footwork, and he looked better than he's ever looked against one of his toughest opponents to date. I think that Rafael Sunsao is criminally underrated. You look at his resume. He was on a 7-fight win streak against guys like Johnny Eduardo, Brian Caraway, TJ Dillashaw, and Pedro Munoz, all studs. And this was his chance. He was coming off a 2-year layoff. And, with a lot of guys that come off that layoff because, they need to adjust to the new regulations and stuff. But that wasn't the case with Hoffa. He came in.
He looked solid as fuck, too. He looked big.
Exactly. And with other guys, like you remember when Rick Story came back against Tarek Saffiedine, he was coming off the same kind of layoff. He hadn't fought since like October 2014 either, and he came in there and had the performance of his career. But here, I just think that TJ was the better man. Now, as far as rushing him into a title shot, there are other guys in the division. For example, if John Lineker goes out there and if he makes a statement against McDonald, maybe knock him out in the first round or have a very, very impressive performance. I mean, would you really be opposed to seeing that? Because, look, I know on paper Dominic Cruz is unbelievable, but, dude, all champions' reigns come to an end, man. And, after all the surgeries, for example, did you think he was moving as good in that second Uriah fight? I know he dropped him, but that might be testament to Uriah's chin and all the wars he's had, because Cruz has never been known for his knockout power. As you saw, he didn't know how to finish him there. He was surprised when he dropped him, just as much as you are.
Yeah, I think everyone was surprised when he dropped him. I thought that Cruz looked like he slowed down a touch from the TJ fight. I don't know, how many more high-level training camps Cruz can make it through. You want to think he's a young guy, but it's the miles, not the age. And you asked me, do I want to see John Lineker fight Dominic Cruz? Of course I do, just because what a juxtaposition of styles. One guy who has hardly any technique and just goes in there and likes to Tasmanian devil wing fucking hooks, and a dude who's just patient and really known. So I'd give Cruz a huge advantage, but I'd love to see crazy shit happen, and clearly, with the UFC where it's at right now, crazy shit just seems to want to happen. So why not? Let's get wild. You could throw John Lineker in there. You'd have to knock Michael McDonald out in the first round, though. I think to leapfrog that many spots, you got to knock him out significantly early.
You got to make a statement there. You know who I think is the dark horse in that division? This kid Jimmy Rivera. He's 19-1. And he's been thrown at the wolves, in all his UFC fights. He went in there with Pedro Munoz, with Yuri Alcantara, in his second and third fights. And the guy's no slouch. I think he's going to get a top 5, top 10 opponent next. And if he makes a statement, he could be right up there for the next title shot.
Yeah, you and I agree about Jimmy Rivera. The unfortunate part about Jimmy Rivera is he really needs a couple name-establishing fights in the UFC. He's really only had a couple showcase spots, and he's done really well with the spots he's had. But to get that name recognition up, he just needs to get really good spotlights in his next 2 fights and to capitalize on them, and then he could probably be tossed around in the title contention.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt about it. And I already feel like he's handled what he's been given well. That fight with Yuri Alcantara, that was on Big Fox. It was the first fight of the main card. And, there's at least 1 million people watching that. So to go out there and have a performance like he did, that was good. And then he had the fight pass audience. I said fight pants. The fight pass audience, supporting him there when he fought Pedro Munoz, which was an unbelievable fight. So he has been able to, fight in front of good audiences. Then you look at his resume, 18 or 19-1, and it speaks volumes that you're right. One more good showcase fight, go out there in that main card, make a statement, and he could be right up there. And then John Lineker is also, like you said, it's about the styles that makes that so intriguing. So he's got to make a statement on Wednesday against Michael McDonald. But let me ask you this. What if Michael McDonald makes a statement? But here's the thing, man.
Mm-hmm.
With John Lineker, did you notice, his last fight was in Brazil. Physique was the best it's ever looked. I need to see on the scales before I make a bet or a pick in this fight. Are we getting the same John Lineker here that fought Rob Font? Because that guy was a motherfucking machine. You know what I mean?
Know. They got to import that Brazilian beef, if you know what I mean. It's tough to get that Brazilian meat over the borders. You know what I mean? So we'll see how Lineker does when the fight's in the US of A. 135 pounds though, interesting. Division right now. Division not too long ago seemed one of the more boring and probably only had 2 or 3 elite fighters. Now we're looking at a really fleshed out division, which is good for the future there. Opening up. Fox Sports 1, Super Sage Northcutt, he's got a hand-picked opponent here against Enrique, or it's not Enrique. I always want to say Enrique. It's just Enrique Marin. Tough winner or a tough finalist. I guess he didn't win the whole thing, but a tough guy, wasn't going to get bullied around by Sage Northcutt, wanted to make it kind of gritty and dogfight, took the second round, made it a tough, kind of grinding affair during that couple rounds. But Sage Northcutt was clearly the better one of the two in the striking exchanges. Took some dominant positions as well. When he could get reversals in the ground game, a clear victory for him, 2-1. Are we ready to finally pump the brakes on the Sage hype train?
I mean, I think a lot of people forget that this kid's only 19 or 20 years old, man. So we just gotta chill. It's just the fact that the way he looks like a superhero. He does those backflips after he wins, so people fall in love with that, and the hype train, like you mentioned. But dude, he's just a kid. He's developing every single fight. Even the fight he lost, he looked good early. And I think the biggest question with him was, a lot of people were like, so is this guy an athlete or is he a fighter? And I think in this fight, he proved that he's both, because he was in situations where he could have gave up. He was in that tight armbar. A lot of guys would have tapped out, and he also ate a lot of hard punches. A lot of guys would have ran away or turtled up. And he came back and he fired. And, at the very end of the fight, it was crunch time. He was on his back. He was about to lose the decision. And he ended up on top, which, like we spoke about at the beginning of the show, those guys that find a way to get, on top at the end of the rounds, they steal the rounds. And it was a close 29-28. Props to Enrique Marin. He's no slouch. He actually, in my opinion, he won tough. It's just, he's from Spain and he fought a guy from Mexico in Mexico, and the guy from Mexico got the decision. It was a hometown cooking type thing. But, he had a very good showing. He's a gritty guy. He trains at King's MMA, lives with Kelvin Gastelum. So, he's getting good looks in the gym. He's, like we were talking about, he seems like the kind of guy that would thrive at a gym like King's MMA, where guys like Jake Ellenberger and Pat Cummins don't thrive there, But RDA, Benny, and fucking Gastelum are giving this kid Enrique Marin the work. So I can't wait to see what's next for both of them.
Yeah, I definitely think that Marin has a future in the UFC. Someone who clearly needs some polishing on his game, but didn't seem like he was, athletically out of his depths or, talent-wise out of his depths, despite the fact that he doesn't quite get the shine that a Sage Northcutt did. My thing with Sage Northcutt is that he looks like a really, physically impressive person, but he doesn't use that physicality. Like, that physicality doesn't translate into the ability to bully people in an MMA sense. And that's so important, if you're going to fight 170 pounds, to be kind of a bully. Because there's going to be dudes at that weight class who are going to want to just say, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to drag you around. I'm going to wrestle you right now. I'm going to press you against this fence. I'm going to, muscle through submissions because, I'm walking into this cage at 205 pounds, really. And that's something he's going to have to figure out.
Tonight actually was at lightweight. So,
oh, shit.
But I agree with you.
Why do I think he's fighting 170? Oh, he is fighting because he did that one time because he was sick.
Yeah, that, and because Marin's a really fucking big lightweight. So, I at first I thought it was 172, but I had to look it up when I was looking at the wiki page here. And, yeah, it was at 55. So, but maybe as he grows, dude, we keep forgetting he's 19 or 20 years old. He's just a fucking kid, man. So imagine what he's like when he's 24. He might have to go up to 170 pounds, or maybe not. Maybe he can be really good at 55. But I felt like he proved a lot tonight. To have to go through a real fight and to come out on top, that was good for a young guy's career.
You know what? And I totally forgot about that armbar, and that was a deep fucking armbar, and that took balls of steel to kind of grit out. That's an armbar that, like, 8 steps before he sunk, as deep as he sunk it, 8 steps earlier, I would have tapped that in in jiu-jitsu. If he had just been in the position to almost extend my arm, I'm tapping in that point, because I'm like, I'm going to save my elbow and my shoulder. And, yeah, God damn it, Sage didn't give a fuck. So props to him for not giving a fuck. Diego Sanchez fought Joe Lozon, and in kind of a shocking and not shocking moment, Joe Lozon knocks him out very early in the first round. I guess you could call it a TKO, but I guess Diego Sanchez is fully incapable of going unconscious. I'd be shocked if the man even sleeps. Super impressive from Joe Lozon, or are we just like completely writing off Diego Sanchez?
Well, I mean, the thing with Lozon is from here on out, he should only have fan-friendly fights with, legend of the sport. like Lozon, like you said. And tonight, when I was thinking about this fight, I really thought that the hand speed would be the difference. It's just that if Lozon wasn't able to put him away, because Diego is known for his durability and for coming back in the later rounds and stealing the end of the rounds. That's what's always worked for Diego in the past. But when you take so many punches, there's always going to come that time. That guy that's known for, eating everything but the kitchen sink, you can hit him with a baseball bat and he can walk right through it. Chuck Liddell back in his day. Those guys eventually just start getting knocked out of nowhere. And I'm surprised that Diego made it this long. But, hey, tonight was that first knockout loss. And even then, he didn't go down. He didn't know where he was. He was completely out on his feet. But even then, he didn't fall. But I'll tell you this. If he keeps fighting, eventually later on, he's going to be laid out stiff. So he needs to make a decision. In my opinion, he's proved everything that he needs to prove. But at the same time, it's not my place to tell someone with a competitive spirit or a competitive drive what to do with their life. And he is a staple in this sport. And maybe if you can give him, who's a lower end guy in that weight class that has somewhat of a name, because he already fought Gomi. And, it's funny. I actually thought Gomi won that fight. But then again, it was different times in their careers. The way Gomi's been looking lately, I think he should hang him up. But is there anyone else in that weight class you want to see Diego fight? Or do you think that's it, man?
I'm kind of over it, but you're right. It has to be a name, and it has to be someone who's not doing well of like a similar level. But like after Joe Lozon, who is there? I don't. What wouldn't be so bad would be Diego Sanchez against BJ Penn. I'd fuck around with some of that.
Yeah, or Diego Sanchez tell Gray Maynard to go back up to 155.
Oh,
you see him get that victory?
That's a good fight, man. That's a good idea. I love that. First of all, Gray Maynard should not be cutting to 145. His poor fucking kidneys. Yeah. That guy, oh, no. Stop it. So, yeah, take a breather, come back up to 155, fight Diego Sanchez, because neither one of you are smart enough to retire or have any real friends in your life.
And speaking of being smart enough to retire, let me tell you how deep into the game Gray Maynard is. So in his post-fight scrum or whatever after the fight, he's still saying that he wants that fourth fight with Frankie Edgar.
Dude, but you know what? If you're Gray Maynard coming off that victory, I think you might as well say that shit. It's gonna give you the biggest headline.
Yeah, bro. You know what? I'm going to go out there and barely beat Fernando Bruno, and then I'm going to call out Frankie Edgar. It's just I don't think he's let that go, man.
I wouldn't let that go. You know who Diego Sanchez should have to fight?
Who?
Olivier Aubin Mercier. That's what we should just start doing. Just anyone who won't strike. Anyone who's scared of fists should have to fight Diego Sanchez at 155 pounds. If you're scared of getting hit by a punch, Diego Sanchez against you.
Man, but Mercier kicks fucking hard, dude. I got to tell you what. That kid, even though he hasn't been impressive at all, I'm going to be looking to fade him in like all his fights where he's not fighting
in France, in French Canada.
When he's not fighting Thibaut Gallaudet, I'm going to be looking to fade him. You know what I mean? Jobbers coming into Canada to fight him. But if they give him a real fight like in Vegas, I mean, dude, all he's got is an occasional takedown and a big body kick.
How about James Mutasari against Diego Sanchez? Does that sound good to you?
It does, but the thing is, Mutasari, you know how those Black House guys are. Now that the sport started to change, he had to move up a weight class. So, if you watch his fights at 55, he's absolutely ripped out of his mind. Now he's up at 170, ballooned up like a whale. And, so, dude, he's fighting Alex Cowboy next. That is
I don't want to. The people who are managing that poor kid's career, they should be ashamed. This sounds dumb, but they have listed Francisco Trinaldo. That's interesting. At 155 pounds on this list, like the UFC's list.
Yeah. No, he isn't 155 pound.
What, man? Damn, I've been smoking that good shit tonight. I've been losing track of all kinds of weight classes, bro. That would be a fantastic fight, only because we'd watch Diego Sanchez probably get murdered.
Dude, you know what though?
If he makes it to the third round.
But dude, word on the street is Trinaldo's fighting Paul Felder next. How good is that?
Oh, that sounds like a dope fight. Man, Trinaldo's been winning fights. You got to give him some fucking names sooner or later. But anyway, we could play the 155-pound who's left to fight Diego Sanchez. There's no one. That's long and short of it, there's no one. Diego Sanchez, hang him up. We love you, brother. But right off into that good sense up, man. You know, we're glad you feel fantastic. But it's all good. We'll do without you from now on. Gegard Mousasi with a fantastic victory, KO victory late in the first round against Thiago Santos. Thiago Santos, a dangerous dude, and I think probably an underrated fighter. Doesn't have a name, but definitely is a person who could shut your lights off and could probably beat a bunch of guys with a name in that division. But Gegard Mousasi, too veteran, too much for him, too accurate. Super impressive, in my opinion. What was your opinion on this, Dan?
Oh, no doubt about it, man. My questions going into this fight were, how good is Thiago Marreta? Is he ready to rise to the occasion and be the guy who's been there, done that, fought everybody in the fucking game? And you know what? Mousasi shut off his kicking game completely. He shut it down. And, the way he was fighting that jab, that cross, and when he took him down to the ground, dominated him there. And then he capitalized on an opportunity when he got up, landed that big shot, put him down. It was kind of like Joaquim Silva versus Andrew Holbrook.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, good, interesting comparison. I wanted to stress that KO punch because that's such a hard punch to hit. And, you kind of always wonder in MMA, and, maybe to some people who aren't, so aware of just how difficult that is, like why don't you go for that strike in those transitions? But it's really hard to put a fist right on the chin when someone's in the process of standing up, or because they can just move in all kind of not just like left and right in that point. They can also scoop back. They're moving up quickly. It's so easy to have that punch just like land at the neck or at the sternum. But, really fast and accurate punch from Mousasi. So I thought that was a super impressive KO. Poor Thiago Santos, I don't even really think that it was so much of a bad performance by him as much as he got caught. But I'm not sure if this would have worked out good for him anyway, just because Gegard's so veteran, so, such a crafty fighter, has that wrestling base, too, that everyone kind of forgets about, in his arsenal. So I didn't see this ending well for him anyway, but a great victory for Gegard and kind of a placeholder fight for him.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I'll tell you what. Let me ask you this: based on how Anderson Silva looked tonight versus DC, you recall when Mousasi was campaigning all week to fight DC. Now imagine if that was a 5-round title fight. Based on how DC looked, what kind of chance would you give Mousasi tonight based on how he looked? That's a good question, right?
Yeah. It's higher than 15%. I'll say that. Maybe it's 20%. I'd give him like a 20% chance. I won't give him a 1 in 4. I'll give him a 1 in 5.
Oh, it's like that, huh?
Yeah, I think that's good odds to give him, because here's the thing: Mousasi can get grounded out and can get out wrestled, and DC's such a big boy, so you got to give him he's at least the favorite, right?
Yeah, but
maybe it's a little bit more than 20%. Maybe it's 25. I don't know. That's a good question though.
But I'm saying not on full training camps preparing for each other. I'm saying with this 2-day short notice, and you take into consideration that DC was pulling for a 210-pound catch weight because he didn't want to cut the extra pounds. He was struggling on the weights. That's why he looked like shit in that third round when Anderson was getting off on a couple strikes. It's just that he's so fucking strong that he was able to either take him down or pin him up against the fence and stall out that clock. But maybe based on how Mousasi looked tonight with that full camp, maybe he could have pulled it out within 5 rounds. Most likely, obviously, DC would be a minus 350 favorite there. On the short camp. On a full camp, he'd be like minus 5 to minus 800. But that 2-day short notice, that's why Anderson was only plus 400. So I'd assume that, considering the fact that Gegard's at a better spot in his career currently, the line would be lower on him.
Yeah, so right. He's gonna get that plus 250 number. That's it.
Exactly. he has a better chance. And, based on how they both looked tonight, I would have given him a good chance there.
Yeah, definitely. The more you're talking to me about it, the more you. If that fight had gone down, I'll guarantee you, Dan, I would have put a goddamn bet on Gegard Mousasi. It would have been a small one, but I would have done it. I can't resist a good dog, so I would have put that money out there. Yeah, Gegard Mousasi, a guy who loses, kind of the fights that, will propel him into a title shot perpetually. But you hope that these keep relevant for him, and maybe he finds a way into a title shot eventually. By hook or by crook. Definitely a dude who could probably knock out Michael Bisping, so just throwing that one out there. The curtain jerker of the night, Jim Miller fought Takanori Gomi, and this one was depressing because Jim Miller is kind of a guy who probably should hang it up, and he looked like a goddamn stud against the Fireball Kid.
Man, the thing that sucks about the Fireball Kid is, no takedown defense and no get-up game and no submission defense. So it's like he's always got a puncher's chance if you stand and bang with him. But Jim Miller did what Jim Miller does. He took that back, and, actually he finished him with strikes here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the same song and dance with Takanori Gomi, and that's the frustrating part of this whole thing. Everyone kind of wants to relive the glory days, but the game evolved beyond Takanori Gomi's skill set, and Gomi really didn't seem concerned with evolving with it. And unfortunately, that's all you really need in this sport, for everyone to kind of lose track of you in the game. So here's a fun game to play. If you could force one of these fighters retire, who would you pick? Diego Sanchez or Takanori Gomi? You only get to save one. The one who you don't save has to fight RDA coming off that loss. So they're basically being sent to their execution. So you get to save one 155-pound fighter. Do you save Takanori Gomi or do you save Diego Sanchez, and why?
100%. I save Diego Sanchez because look, tonight was the first time that he officially got truly finished. I know BJ Penn, UFC 107, finished him with that cut, absolutely whooped his ass. But look, Takanori Gomi, 3 straight first-round knockout losses, and they've all been embarrassing. They haven't been close at all. They've all been, they showed that he's got 0 ground game, and you can't have 0 ground game in the UFC. He's, 40 years old or whatever. The dude's a fucking legend, former Pride lightweight champion. That war with Diaz he had, all the crazy knockouts back in the day. Much respect, Takanori Gomi. You got to be the first fighter to walk out at UFC 200. What a way to cap off your career. Right off into the sunset, my man. He could do big things in fucking Japan. Be an actor down there. You know what I mean? Be a fucking model or some shit. Like, he's the man.
Yeah, dude.
He's the motherfucking Fireball Kid.
Yeah, it's fantastic. He should get a voice recorder. You know what I mean? Like one of those voice box machines, and become a pop singer.
Yeah, exactly. Like Akiyama, take some lessons.
Exactly. You don't have to be able to sing well. Akiyama isn't a good singer. He's just a sexy-looking motherfucker, And that's all you need in Japan is a little gimmick. So, yeah, please, Takanori Gomi, take some advice from us. Become a J-pop singer. Leave this fighting thing in the past for the sake of your brain cells, for the sake of your future children. I don't know. Is Takanori Gomi he's probably like 30, right?
I'm going to tell you in 1 second.
Yeah, I've always imagined Gomi as one of these guys we assume is 95. No, he's old as shit. It's going to be depressing. 38? How depressing?
37.
Oh, wow. That's a depressing number. Yeah.
But
yeah.
in fight years, he's like 67. Yeah, exactly. So, it is what it is, man. Listen, it happens to every great fighter. Chuck Liddell, that's always the example you got to go to. When you can hit a guy in the face with a baseball bat and he can smile at you and then throw an overhand back, and then all of a sudden Rich Franklin's broken hand can barely ting him with a little fucking cute shot and put him out cold for like 5 minutes straight.
Yeah.
That's when you know it's time to hang him up. So, I just hope to see these guys know when to say when more often.
Yep. This is one of those like TKO victories that kind of were worse than maybe a KO was, just because he took a bit of a hammering. I just hope that smarter heads prevail and Takanori hangs him up here. But knowing him, he'll probably get cut from the UFC after this fight and start fighting for ONE FC or Risen or some shit like that. All right, dude. Let's kind of put a bow on UFC 200. A bizarre night. Not the landmark event the UFC was hoping for, and definitely not the results they were probably hoping for either. But a weird and kind of oddly satisfying night nonetheless. All right, you're Joe Silva. You're handing out bonuses. Let's give out your 2 performance of the night bonuses and start thinking about your fight of the night.
Okay. So first of all, without question, my performance of the night is Amanda Nunes and Gegard Mousasi. Actually, no. Amanda Nunes and Cain Velasquez. The fact that Velasquez was throwing those fucking spinning heel kicks, that gets it over Mousasi, who's known for beating these kind of non-top 5 guys. So got to give the performance of the night bonuses to Amanda and Cain. Now, real quick, because I didn't see Kelvin. Because I didn't see Kelvin versus Johnny. Was it really a back and forth war or any shit like that?
No. If you're looking for that as your fight of the night, I wouldn't go there. Close,
okay, so you could make the argument for Jose versus Frankie, considering what was on the line, considering if you're a fan of the finer details, such as the fact that, Jose Aldo would wait till the last couple minutes of the round to get off, and when he did get off, he was, fucking... He stuffed all the takedowns this time, landed those crisp shots, and just looked the best he's looked in a while, man. So that could be the fight of the night. And also Sage Northcutt versus Marine. I mean, that was pretty fun, dude. I enjoyed that one a lot. I mean, listen, I'm not giving it to Lesnar versus Hunt. I'm not giving it to DC versus Anderson Silva. And not Juliana, not TJ.
That's UFC 200. The fights that weren't good.
So it's up between Sage and Jose Aldo. Those are the 2 options for fight of the night.
All right, I'll break it out for you. Or what?
Or 4 performance of the night bonuses, and then give one to Gegard and to Joe.
Boom. There you go. Okay. This is what I'm doing. I'm giving it out to Amanda Nunes. You can't not give it out to her. God damn it, that was a special performance from someone, who seized a goddamn moment in a night where not too many people were seizing moments. Joe Lozon. I know it was Diego Sanchez, but it was a pretty sweet knockout, and it was pretty abrupt. I really enjoyed it, so I'll give 50 G's to the bonus machine, Joe Lozon, 50 G's to Amanda Nunes, and then my fight of the night is Jose Aldo against Frankie Edgar. I just really like a technical fight between 2 high-level dudes who, had a lot on the lines for not just the interim title, but also for their legacy and their career as a whole. What's up, man?
So they ended up announcing what the awards were. So they didn't give out a fight. They didn't give out a fight of the night, but they gave out 4 performance bonuses: Amanda Nunes, Cain Velasquez, Joe Lozon, Gegard Mousasi.
Sexy. I like it. They're thinking a little bit what you were thinking, a little bit what I was thinking. Good. All people who kind of deserved it. There probably wasn't a fight of the night, honestly, in the whole thing. All right, UFC 200, historic event, kind of goes to show you that it's kind of better when these great moments in MMA organically happen rather than when we try to force them. But overall, if you had to give this card a letter grade, A to F, Dan Levy. Best fight picks. What do you give it?
I want to give it 2 separate grades. Okay. I want to give a grade.
No one's stopping you.
I want to give it a grade. I want to give a grade to the UFC team because they fucking worked their asses off overnight to replace John Jones and give us Anderson Silva. To do that for the fans, to put a card like this, because on paper it was one of the best cards in UFC history, and it comes down to the fighters going out there and performing. Yeah. So the UFC put it together perfectly. So the UFC gets an A+ for this show. This show itself, in terms of the performances, I'd give it a B.
Boom, B. My grade for the entire card was going to be a B, but I'm giving it a B- because, god damn it, you just can't you can't oversell a thing and then underperform. That's the big thing. Undersell it, overperform. Don't oversell and underperform, gentlemen. Learn that as a lesson in life. I'll leave that as some parting wisdom. All right, let's say goodbye to the people. Mr. Dan Levy, what do you have to say? How can the people get in contact with you? Where can they see all that beautiful stuff that you do?
Well, as always, Andrew, it's been a pleasure, my man. Can't wait to do this again, and can't wait to have you back on Half the Battle. Fans, friends, check out Half the Battle. That's my show. It's on iTunes, SoundCloud, and YouTube. It's a lot of fun. Half the Battle. Follow me on Twitter at BestFightPicks, and get my plays at bestfightpicks.com for free.
Boom. Yeah, definitely give that guy a follow on Twitter for some craziness that you don't follow Dan Levy, but you follow me. Jesus, good Christ. At Best Fight Picks on Twitter. You can always find me on Twitter. I'm at the Clown Kid. This is available as an iTunes podcast. If you don't know, if you're a dedicated watcher on the old YouTube, you can find us now on iTunes. Just go ahead and subscribe. Help us out. Tell a friend. Thanks to Dan again for coming on the show. Thank you guys always for staying up late and talking fights or listening to us talk fights to you. We very much appreciate your viewership as always. All right, UFC 200 is in the books. Episode 43 is in the books. I'm Andrew Lawrence as always, and peace. Take it easy.